What's up, boys?
Look who decided to show up.
The cat dragged in.
This is going to be a disaster. Leave it. I'm a link bending machine.
You're doing it too. Your back window just fell.
Fluffernutter in them.
Do it justice.
What's up, boys? What's up, boys? Rehab. Potential new series. Shout out to WT Micro for always naming my ideas. Rehab. The idea is I take already built SCX 24s. I just bought one. That may be built not how I would build them. And the goal will be to kind of juggle, spend as little as possible and make it as capable as possible. Just met up with a guy on Marketplace. Picked up this little guy. Now I know what you guys are probably thinking. What could I possibly do to make this any better? This already looks like a line slayer. I don't want to say anything bad because the guy recognized me. He's a viewer. Thank you for watching. Not a not a bad setup. It's just not how I would set this up. It sits really high, and for how short of a wheelbase it is, and it's also as wide as it is long. Big flexi shocks. Yeah. So so the goal is going to be spend as little as possible, move some stuff around, adjust some stuff, and see how capable we can get this. I also wasn't expecting it to come 100% ready to run, battery fully charged and everything. So let's just go give this a quick test right now. And we'll just keep it to a 2 or 3 line maximum test due to the ESC whine. I don't want to put you guys through that. I don't want to put myself through that. We'll go test it, get a baseline of how it crawls as is, and then we'll go home, take a closer look at it, and start deciding what we're going to do. Enjoy. I feel naked without my shopping basket. Let's just see if we can get up this hill yet, and then we'll end it here. Oh, this is rough. Alright boys, we're back home. I'm just going to quickly talk about what we have going on here. Metal axles, front and rear, extremely wide. They look to be stock width, but then they have a ton of extensions going on here. I don't even think I've seen an extension that looks like this before. And then the front, same situation. The knuckle ends here, and then we have like an inch of extensions. Brass knuckles, that's good. Brass diff cover, good. The front axle shafts, we have 2 different kinds. I'm assuming maybe he broke one, bought a different type, and then just replaced one of them. Little guy racing wheels, good. Some type of inserts in the front, they feel chunky. Somebody's 3D printed inserts. Foam in the rear. Endura tires, Emax servo. This is obviously the Endura buggy. Endura brass links front and rear, and it looks like he has the lowers on in a way that puts the high clearance bend towards the skid rather than back at the axle. When this flexes, the links hit the motor and move the motor, so we'll have to figure out something there. Using the red Endura brushed motor, double barrel shocks with fairly stiff springs, and I think that's really all there is to mention. My plans for this, I think I see a way where I can extend the rear by just moving all the links to different mounting holes. I'm going to mess with that. I'm going to try and get the motor to tilt up some so the links don't hit it by putting a spacer under it. I'm thinking underdrive gear in the rear to make the rear spin slower, that way the front pulls it. I'd like to put stock axle shafts in the front and the rear if I can find enough of them laying around. Oh yeah, we have enough. I have these nice front shafts. I just need to find stock length rear ones. So we'll be good there. I think I'm gonna put smaller tires on it. We're already running into an issue of this rubbing. So most likely, Proline Trencher for the tire. Shout out Nacho Crawlers for the scales. We're actually not looking too bad here. 56% front, whoops, I touched it, sorry. 56% front weight, 44% rear weight, total weight of 430, and then side to side, you guys can see the numbers. Not completely awful. I think we have some potential here with slight modifications. That weight was taken with the battery in the back. One thing I'm doing for sure is replacing this. We're going to use a brushed Endura ESC and Turbo Racing remote and receiver. This is a cheap remote and receiver. This is a cheap brushed ESC. I'm pretty much only doing that just because the noise this makes. It's so hard to watch on video. If I wasn't filming this, I think I would just keep this one in it. I just wanted to give a quick look at what our wheel hex extensions look like. These are a piece that I haven't seen before. So I just wanted to show them off. And then the back, the back is just what grabs the axle pin. So my idea to extend the rear actually worked, I think. The lower rear links, you can see I moved, they used to be here, I moved them here. And then the upper links that used to mount here, I have secured behind this bolt. I put an extra long bolt through right here. Can we see this on the other side? You can kind of see right here. And then for the axle side, I put the lower links on, like normally they go in here. I put them on the outside. That way it still somewhat keeps like the triangle shape. I think for now we'll leave it like this and test it. Everything seems to flex and move fine. The motor actually doesn't hit the links anymore, so I don't need to worry about that. And yeah, I think that's going to be our rear link positioning. Next up, I'm just going to pull the axles apart, put stock axle shafts in them, and then change the gear in the rear axle. Pulled out the stock gears that were in the rear axle, and we're replacing it with Endura 1/12. This is one of the, in my opinion, this is one of the best, cheapest mods you could do. As I continue to pull this apart, I just realized we have a brass transmission cover. I don't think that's really needed. It's just kind of random weight in the middle and somewhat up high. So I'm also going to remove this brass piece in here. Rear axle back together. I swapped out the axle shafts for stock ones, so now we're much more narrow, and I have the underdrive gear in the rear. Still messing with link placements, but axle's good to go. Okay, I got one side of the front done, and we ran into a few problems. So I put a shorter axle shaft in. First problem we ran into, it wasn't wanting to steer at all. It would turn like this far and get stuck. It was getting stuck because of right here, the big bulky axle housing. And of course right here you can see where I shaped it down, top and bottom. And then also I was running into the knuckle, hitting that silver shock bolt sticking out right there. So I dremeled, where am I pointing at? Right here. You can see it's like a big curve there now. I dremeled that so it fits right in there. Front end slowly getting back together. I just put the steering link on and it was hitting the diff whenever we would steer. It wasn't letting it get its full steering. So I dremeled the back of this red piece, like right in here. And now it gives us our full steering. And then I also just dremeled the bottom of the steering link a little bit so it's not such a hard edge. Maybe it'll help us. I don't know. I figured why not. Okay, front's completely back together. I did move This upper steering arm, it was mounted on the outside of the servo horn, and with enough room I put it behind the servo horn, and with that it kind of keeps it in a straight angle. Before it was way out to the front trying to grab the front of it, and it doesn't hit anything when it steers, so we should be good with this setup. Alright boys, I think we're pretty much good to go. Before I talk about what's done to it, let's go test it first just to make sure it actually works. We'll test it and then I'm going to talk about everything we did. Moment of truth. I was so excited to get out here, I freaking forgot to change out of my Crocs. VSKFs, anyone? So much quieter with that brushed ESC. Nice. That was easier than I expected it to be. Nice. Motor is a bit weak. That's one of my first complaints. And by weak, I mean whenever we're up against something or like under load and I'm giving it throttle, it just doesn't want to move. I know I am spoiled by my brushless motors, but even the purple Enduro one seems a lot better than this. Can we get this? Nice. Check the downhill on the same spot. Not bad. After just a couple lines, I can immediately tell the tires are going to be too stiff for my liking. I'm running the stock foam front and rear. These tires normally are very good and I can tell they're slipping a lot. So I'm going to go back home and put in some softer inserts, and I think then we're good to go. Another thing I think I just realized from running a couple lines, I think the front axle already had an overdrive gear in it. The front seems like it's spinning extra fast compared to the rear. If that is the case, and knowing that, first of all I should have just popped the diff cover off and checked, but if that is the case, I could have got away without putting the gear in the rear axle. The rear might be spinning too slow compared to the front now, but we'll leave it as is. I went home and I changed the foams around. In the front tires we have yellow Enduro inserts, and I cut the outer ring off of them. And in the rear tires we have Crawler Innovation, the softest foam. Pretty sure somewhere along the line we bent a front axle shaft. It's fine. Boy, it made that easy. Let's see if we can keep going down through that V shape. Dude, heck yes. Yes, dude. Let me get it on the flat part. So good. There we go. Servo horn was hitting. Oh, no way it's gonna hold on to this. We weren't high enough. Oh! Dang. Oh my gosh. It's actually gonna hang on. Alright boys, let's take a quick look at everything we did. Shout out Nacho Crawlers for the scales. Here we can see the final modification set up. 65% front, 35% rear weight, Total weight 352. And then I did write down what we started with. So we did have 241 weight in the front, 56%, 189, 44% rear, and then our total before was 431. So we actually lost a good bit of weight, and I think that's mainly from switching to the plastic wheels instead of running these. Probably the tires too. We really didn't change too much other stuff. Proline trencher tires. Got these on sale for $6 or $7, I think, and they came with the wheels. Brass rings, brass Injora rings on the inside that go around the wheel, and normal plastic ones in the back. We kept the same shocks on it. By extending the rear, I did get the shocks to lean down more, which gave us a lower ride height instead of sitting up so high. So by extending the rear, we got it to sit lower. Front, same shocks. I put a rubber band on each one of them. Emax servo, did nothing with that. The cage I lightly modded. I got rid of this whole back tray where the battery went, and I just put a little 3D printed crossbar in between here for support. This rubber band that you may have seen on the rear, I don't think it does anything. My whole point of putting it there was, can you even see it? Yeah. My whole point of putting it there was to make it easy to unattach it. That way I could do the same lines with it on and with it not on, just to kind of see for myself if it was changing anything, if it helped. And I think it's too loose to do anything. I don't really think it offers much. I did not notice a difference with this on or off, so just ignore that. Brass links, these came on the truck. The only thing I did was extend the entire rear. I showed that. I also dremeled down the skid quite a bit since we extended the rear to try and get some more, just a little bit more clearance out of it. Front and rear axle, I showed both of those things and everything we did. But then I did keep those little brass hex extensions in there. I don't think I normally would have done that, but the goal here was to change as little as possible, to reuse as much as I could. And it seems like the width of it fit well with the extra length that we gained. So I'm okay with that. I'm pretty sure I already said this. It seems like the front may have already had an overdrive gear. The front spins way faster than the rear, which that was the goal. I did want the front to spin faster, but it seems like a bit more than I was expecting. So I think we probably could have even done without doing this rear gear if I just would have looked in here to see what gear it was, or if I would have just paid attention when we first drove it. Yellow Injora inserts in the front with the outer layer cut off of them. Crawler Innovation soft foam in the rear. I tidied up some of the wires. I have the Turbo Racing receiver right here on this side. Brushed Injora ESC right here. All the wires just kind of lay in the middle. And then I modified the front of the buggy here, this little hood. It swivels open, and then the battery lays down, and battery attaches right here, and it lays sideways right in here. And then I can just shut this back up and clamp it down. I'm extremely excited for how well this went. This is probably one of the funnest videos I've filmed. I was forced to use stuff that I wouldn't normally use. Brass links, probably would never buy those. Double barrel shocks with stiff springs on them, probably not something I would have ever used. Emax servo, at one point, yes. Now, no. Injora buggy cage, probably not. Just a handful of stuff that I would have never used, and this actually doesn't seem bad at all. This is definitely able to keep up with a lot of trucks that we've seen. The weakest points of the truck, servo. Next weak point, the motor. There's a lot of spots where I was giving it full throttle, half throttle, and it was just not, it was like stuck, not wanting to go anywhere. Which is a bit surprising because the purple, this is a red brushed Injora motor. The purple brushed Injora motor seems significantly better than this one. Unless this is also just a combination of the motor and ESC. We actually did this with hardly any new parts. Wheels and tires, the inserts, but it would have been fine with the stock foam. The axle shafts, which the rear ones were completely stock. Let me know what you guys think. This was extremely fun to film, fun for myself to push myself. This was cool. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Peace.